I've been very fortunate to travel to Argentina a couple of times, and thanks to that, I learned what is Argentinian Merienda. So it's been a while since I traveled there, so I decided to do my own merienda here at home in Madrid. So we will make together today two classy things that always come up to me when I think about merienda. Alfajores de maicena and tarta with membrillo, or like Argentinians say, membrillo. So the recipe comes directly from Argentina, from my secret source. Dale, más claro, échale agua, that this recipe is para chuparte tus dedos. So without further ado, let's start with alfajores de maicena. So I used this brand here in Spain, and the rest of the ingredients, they are really easy obtainable in any supermarket. So first of all, we're going to sift flour and cornstarch, tiny bit of bicarb soda. So that's it, dry ingredients are done. We put them aside and start with the butter, which is soft, room temperature, and we will start mixing it with icing sugar. So it's pretty much like a shortbread, where you start with butter and sugar and then we continue with dry ingredients and eggs. It's also kind of weird not to use my legendary mixer, and today I wanted to do everything by hand. So we mix butter and sugar batter and slowly incorporate egg yolks. Just remember, use room temperature egg yolks and not in one go. At this point I can also add some vanilla paste, and the recipe asks for a teaspoon of lemon zest, so I'm just gonna do by eye. I think we need to be careful with lemon and control it very well, because it's easy to turn it into a lemon biscuit, so that's what we don't want. It's quite fragrant actually, the vanilla. So Argentinian recipes ask for cognac, or I saw even recipes with rum. So since I don't have it, so it's fine, and lots of people don't really use it. So slowly adding dries and mixing like in a couple of stages. Just gonna continue by hand. Looks easier at this point. So I can feel this is a very crumbly texture. But when I think about this texture, it really feels like it's gonna be very light biscuit. So that's the dough. Looks really soft. Looks like I really need to handle with care because it's very fragile. So I will leave this dough to rest a little bit in the fridge, and in the meantime I will do the dough for Pastaflora tart. So now we're gonna make masa for the tart Pastaflora, and we begin by doing like a short crust pastry. We will mix flour and butter first, and the butter is supposed to be cold. So at this stage we get like a wet sand texture. Yeah, so I don't see any butter lumps. Now let's add just like a pinch of salt and sugar, and as previously we will use some lemon zest, around half a lemon for this amount of dough. So we'll add very slowly, not as so slowly as I wanted. So this is the amount of egg mix I needed. The rest will be for egg wash topping. So the texture is still quite crumbly, and we will add some milk. So just a tiny bit, just to get all dough together. So the dough is quite rough. Don't want to overwork it. I want to wrap it in a cling film and leave it in the fridge to rest. So now let's clean everything down, and let's begin with let's continue with our alfajores. And now we will roll the dough down. We don't want the dough to harden too much because it will be a little bit hard to work with it. So I have a couple of cuts here, like this one is really cute. You can make a nice in one bite alfajores. This is around 5 centimeters diameter. So what can I say, the dough is really soft and quite hard to roll it too much, but that's the reason why, because the end result will be really light and really crumbly, and that's what we want. So the thickness is around half centimeter and should be fine. It really reminds me my times at the bakery where we used to do big batch of shortbread. Don't worry at all if it can be a little bit hard to handle, it's all fine. So I will probably do a tiny ones from this remaining dough, because I already have the full tray here. So I will heat my oven 180 degrees and we'll bake around like 7-10 minutes maximum. So I just taken the first batch out of the oven, so they're still super hot. Let's leave them to cool down, and let's go and bake the small alfajorcitos. So to sandwich alfajorcitos, we will use dulce de leche. So this one is repostero, and it is used for pastry, for example, for alfajores, for conitos, so it has more texture, so it's easier to pipe. But for example, in Argentina, it's mind-blowing when you go to the shop and there's like the whole wall of different kind of dulce de leche. It's like a caramel paradise. That's the most precise I could say. Alfajores are almost done. They're gonna be ready in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So while we wait till all these guys cool down, we will quickly roll the dough of Pastaflora. We will line it, prepare the quince mix and bake it. And while we bake, we will finish alfajores. So we basically prepare the tin, just a little bit of grease and flour. So before lining the tart, we divide dough into 2 parts, one bigger, one smaller. So this part will be used for the lace and this part will be the base. So now let's roll the dough between 2 sheets. So based on my research and based on my talks with the Argentinians, I know that there are different ways of lining the tarts and different recipes of the dough itself. So I saw that people like really crumble and lay down straight away the dough, or others do like me, roll the sheet and then lay the whole thing into a tin. So it's up to you, what do you prefer? So I just wanted to mention that because even Argentinians do in different ways. And now it's time to play with the lace. I feel like I'm abuelita doing like an old traditional pie. It reminds me of my grandmother's times. So the quince paste, we will use 250 grams and 50 grams of water. Blitz everything together, spray on the tart, put the lace and to the oven. So I decided to use up the remaining dough in a creative way. So I created these roses. So what's left only to egg wash and straight to the oven. And now it's time to sandwich alfajorcitos with dulce de leche. We will do like we do with the macaroons. We're trying to find the most perfect match, even though they are the same, but we still find the exact pair. Let's say the second half, like in life. So how to control the amount of dulce de leche while you sandwich the alfajores? The answer is up to you. The only thing is missing right now, mate. So let's go to boil some water and finally let's have our merienda. So let's talk about mate. It's very, very strong part of their culture. So there is a sequence of actions how to prepare and drink mate. First step, you pour sherba, but not full. That's not allowed. Yerba or sherba, it's blitzed leaves. It normally contains a lot of dust. That's why you need to shake calabaza and kind of remove the dust out of it, because when you sip it, it's kind of unpleasant. Then we pour water, which is not boiling hot water. Leave it for a second. We put a straw in, pour some water, and then continue pouring water, and then we're sipping it. So before COVID times, I'm not sure about now, but it was common to share one mate in the circle of a couple of people, and there was always one cebador in charge who was starting and having a first sip.
Cebador, I need to test the quality first. If it's dust-free and if it has good quality, that's a job of cebador.
It was kind of a responsible job because you need to make sure the mate is actually moving and you don't hold mate for too long. It needs to be a flow because everyone wants to have a sip. Oh, and also very interesting fact that when you have this circle, you never say gracias. You just continue because it would be like gracias, gracias, gracias all the time. You share the circle and then in the end you only say once. So after a round or two, mate can become lavado, and then the cebador is in charge of changing yerba and topping up and starting a new round. So to me it was really interesting to observe and watch people having the mate ritual, I even call it ritual, and it's such a daily thing. And I even saw like people driving and having mate or having as a first thing in the morning. So I'm really happy I adopted mate in my life. There are so many things I've discovered in Argentina, but this mate and merienda time, it was really, really impactful. Thank you so much for watching this video, and of course, see you next week.
What's coming? It's coming. It's coming.
Salvador!